Lilia, the head maid, I mean, told me you were looking for me? Oh, forgive me. I've gone and forgotten my manners, not curtsying before I speak. There we go. Good afternoon, Mistress. I'm so sorry, I'm quite mortified. I hope you don't think ill of me for being so awfully informal just now. It's just, when my presence is requested directly by an employer, it is usually because I have erred in some way and they have decided they no longer wish to keep me on. It is not altogether an uncommon occurrence for me, but I had hoped this time might be different. I'm doing it again, babbling away, aren't I? Well, my mother used to say my mouth was always running out of reach of my brain. I suppose I've been anxious. I know I've only been working here for a few months compared to the other maids, but I really like it here. You have been entirely too kind to me, a most wonderful employer, and I am loath to disappoint you in any way. Yet I feel I have already, so many times at this point, with my inherent clumsiness, losing my grip on your food tray at supper, stumbling on the stairs like a silly nitwit and causing you to have to catch me lest I seriously injure myself. All those foolish blunders and so many more, none of which I imagine you could possibly overlook, especially after what transpired yesterday. Yes, since last night, I've been waiting for you to call on me with some trepidation. I could barely get a wink of sleep from nerves. I suppose that was the final straw, and you are wanting me to pack my things and find work elsewhere, then? I understand. I do. I shall make myself scarce as soon as I make certain arrangements. Please allow a little bit of time. What? You are not letting me go. But I thought, surely... Yes. Perhaps I should have let you get a word in edgewise. Oh dear, I've made such a dreadful fool of myself just now, haven't I? And yet, you look at me with such a warm expression, as though you are fond of me. You are fond of me, clumsiness and all. Oh, goodness. You are too kind to me, Mistress, too forgiving, willing to give me several chances many times over. I really admire that about you. My mother, she once told me that widows are the most cross, bitter employers. But so far I have not found that to be so with you. In fact, I believe my employers with living, breathing husbands were often the ones who treated me much less warmly. What am I saying? I mean no offense. What I intended to convey is, you are not like what I was led to initially believe when I was hired to work here. Yes, my mother certainly was an opinionated woman. I do miss her. I'm all alone now in this world. Oh. Well, thank you. It is nice to know that you, of all people, understand. Hold a moment. If you did not call me to dismiss me, then why have you requested me to come to your quarters? Do you have need of me? Shall I change the bedding, dust the drapes, brush your hair? Not that it needs brushing, it looks beautifully perfect as always. Ma'am. Tea? You wish to have tea with me? But I am just a maid. No one special. You wish to get to know me? Me? Are you quite sure? Well, I won't ever say no to a request from you. Oh, what's all this? You've already prepared tea. Oh, I didn't even notice. Well, you should have waited to let me handle this if you wanted tea, Mistress. I wasn't all that far away. Or just dusting off the pianoforte in the parlor. Oh, well, I don't mean to suggest you don't know how to brew a perfectly good cup of tea. Normally that's the maid's duty. I would never be so presumptuous as to think you would debase yourself for my sake. Ah, you're just teasing. Of course. Well, I would be quite delighted to drink tea you've brewed, if you are quite all right with me shirking my duties temporarily. Oh, how do I take my tea? Usually with a splash of milk and 2 sugars. Ah, yes, I suppose I am being quite formal, sitting all ramrod straight in my chair with my hands, tightly folded in my lap. You're teasing me again, aren't you? Even if you are being nice about it. Just an observation. I suppose that's fair. Ah, thank you for the tea. It smells quite good. I'll just, No. No, of course you don't make me nervous. Well, maybe a little bit. But I mean no offence by this. It's not that you've ever done anything to cause me trepidation, my lady, I assure you. Well, other than yesterday. But that was mostly my own doing. My mother said I simply have a timid disposition. Something I believe she hoped I would grow out of over time. You're very kind to me. You ask me for my opinions and take my words seriously. Instead of scolding me when I'm clumsy, you reassure and encourage me. You even invite me to tea with you when someone of your status ought not to associate with one such as I. But in my previous experience, when an employer singles me out, whether in a positive or negative way, it usually doesn't end well for me. It's different with you, but it's hard to forget things like this. There were men, you see, husbands of my former mistresses, and they were quite insistent on my attentions, without fail. You're so sweet, they would tell me, so young and pretty. And they would bid me do things that I did not wish to do, even if it meant disobeying. I tried politely to rebuff their advances, because they were advances, even with how little I know of the world. I know this much for certain. Yet still they would not let me be. I suppose they were used to getting their way. Well, my mistresses, they did not like that. No, they did not, when they caught wind of what was happening. And I don't quite understand why, but they They always seem to blame me for their spouse's wandering eyes, as though I wanted any of it. And they were so mean to me because of it. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to prattle on about something like this, not over this lovely tea you've prepared. Oh no, Mistress, you needn't apologize. Any discomfort I feel is of my own doing, not because of you. How could it be? I normally don't speak so freely about this, but well, I suppose what I intended to convey to you with all this is that while being given special attention reminds me of what I've experienced in other households, with you it feels different. For one thing, you are not a man, and your attention feels gentle and warm instead of biting and insistent. I like being near you. When you initiate conversations with me and speak to me candidly, as though I'm a peer rather than someone below you, it makes me feel, I don't know, like I'm more than my station, I suppose. Any discomfort I've experienced around you is less because of anything you've done, and more because I don't really know how to respond appropriately to your kindness, for fear of seeming impertinent. And also because, well, you do make me flustered, I admit. But not in a way that causes me to become uneasy, no. More so the type of nervous where the air leaves my lungs at the sight of you. My heart begins to beat a staccato rhythm in my chest when you smile at me, like the way you are right now. Oh, you don't have to thank me for confiding in you. You make it quite easy to do so, after all. But you're welcome. I suppose I've tarried too long. Many duties to still attend to. Thank you for the tea, Mistress, and for listening, and for, not sending me packing. I suppose I ought to go now. Oh, you're standing up as well. Is there anything else you wish of me before I go? Oh, you do want to talk about last night. I'm very, very sorry. I know you said I'm not in trouble for it, but it was quite stupid of me to return. After all, I'd already drawn your bath, and you had dismissed me all pleasantly and said there was nothing else you need. And still I came back because I'd accidentally brought the lavender soap bar with me, and I thought, oh, Mistress always smells of lavender, so this must be her favourite soap. Oh, and I knew you had other soaps, and you had already said I could leave, but I still came back and saw you. We are both women, and it is not uncommon for maids to assist their mistresses in the bath and see them like that. But it felt like I was doing something I shouldn't, seeing you bare, smooth skin on full display, nothing hidden. And I, being the little idiot I am, just gawped at you like a fish on land before you said something to me, and I darted away without a second thought. Oh, how utterly appalling and rude of me, all of it. Quite frankly, I don't understand why you seem so unbothered by all this, or why you still look at me with such compassion and understanding. Oh, you scared me. I turned away from you while I was speaking. When did you come up beside me? Now you're taking my hands in yours. Oh goodness, your palms are soft. I mean, what? Oh, of course, I can let you speak. Sorry, again. You don't mean... all right, no interruptions. I understand. So, what you're saying is you don't mind that I saw you like that because you care for me. I don't understand that. Oh, I care for many people, but I would be awfully embarrassed if anyone were to see me as naked as the day I was born. Oh, care as in more than the normal way. So you're fond of me the way you were fond of your late husband. Oh, I see. But that is... I mean... we are both women. And I am a maid. My social standing is non-existent, most especially as I have no dowry to speak of. Besides, you are you. I never in a million years would have entertained the thought that you could feel any attraction to silly, scatterbrained me. But I do think I feel the same way about you, for you. I've tried to ignore it these months, I really have. Not only because I work for you, but because, well, we are told something like this is wrong. Feeling this way towards someone of the same sex is unnatural. But the more I've thought about it, I can't quite recall who pronounced to begin with that these feelings are sinful. A man, perhaps. Men seem to have an awful penchant for dictating falsehoods as fact if it benefits them. It would not surprise me if this were no different, that's what I think. Because you are the least sinful person I know, Mistress. And I simply cannot reconcile the idea of you being someone whose attentions I should fear. Things certainly make more sense now. Your kindness, the way you are always so considerate of me and talk to me very warmly, even when I fumbled in front of you, with the lingering looks and accidental touches during my mundane tasks, which I thought were the product of my own willful imagination. I am stunned by this revelation, Mistress, but I can't help but feel happy to know you care for me so. I also feel compelled to admit, last night, the image of you like that, it's like it has been seared permanently into the inside of my skull. I've thought about you like that, to the point where I could hardly stand it, and felt immensely guilty for it. And, immensely titillated, I suppose. Oh, this is quite silly. I'm so sorry, Mistress, this is not appropriate. I'm afraid even now I'm prone to error. What are you? Mistress. Can you do that again? Goodness. I've never done that before. Well, I kissed a classmate once in my youth, but we were quite young, and it was rather more peck than anything. I'm sorry, I'm prattling on again. You like hearing me talk? You know, no one's ever really listened to me before, the way you do. It makes me feel quite special. I hope you know I would do most anything for you. In all things, I'm at your service, even outside of just being your maid. You want to serve me for a change? What do you mean by that? Oh. Oh. Is that really something you want to do? Oh, well, that wouldn't be necessary. I mean, of course, I am curious of what that's like, and I admit I'm quite taken by the idea of you doing that with me. I have imagined it in great detail. But you needn't concern yourself with my pleasure, my well-being. Well, if you insist, I simply can't say no to you, my